DIY.
Well, DIYers, at a time where we should be focused on Kendrick Lamar's new project, GNX, at least my tribe of DIYers, because we're very happy to see high art be celebrated the way it is, culture be celebrated the way it is. Old Drakey Pooh decided to one-up it in his own very unique way. Drake is out here suing. I said what I said.
Shit get crazy, sturdy, spooky, hilarious.
Say it ain't so. There ain't no way in hell. There ain't no way in hell. Yeah. Wait till we break this down. Hold on. Give me just a damn second, because there's no way this is real life. Drake is indeed suing, and it's ironic because he's suing for things that I felt like he has insight on because he himself has been a part of it. But before we get into that, let's talk about some of the things that led up to this particular motion to file a lawsuit. Let's start here, right? You remember when Kendrick was talking about in Euphoria, the superstar we once knew is now paranoid and spiraling? Well, he finally showed face and for an extended period of time jumped on a live stream with a popular live streamer named XQC. I'm not going to act like I knew who the fuck that was before this stream, but he decides instead of going to an academics platform that has been very pro-Drake, supremely, above and beyond, some might even say allegedly paid. Instead of going to a platform like that actually celebrates him, he goes here to a guy who, during this stream, it was revealed that he doesn't really know his catalog like that. But maybe this makes sense to Drake. Well, before all of this went down, I just want to make sure that we paint a character and a line of decision-making that leads to this ridiculous lead story that we're talking about. So, this is how he starts the stream off, introducing himself. I don't know if you guys saw this. Peep this out.
I feel like I want to hear what you would listen to.
Okay,
That's
I'll
what
play
I
right now
want.
then.
Yeah. Rap music is weird now anyway. I want to hear what you listen to. There we go. I feel like I want to hear.
Okay, that wasn't the clip. Here's a clip. But rap music is weird. I jumped the gun. Put that in the back of your brain. This is how he started the stream,
I
actually.
guess I should give a little intro. I'm Drake. This is XQC, real streaming legend. Me, I do music. In case you didn't know, I'm here. As you can see, fully intact, mind, body, and soul. In case you were wondering, right?
Who said you was dissolved? What was that? That's a weird statement. What made him go there? The fact that he's introducing himself to an audience that for sure knows the likes of Not Like Us. Oh, they know who you are. No need to reintroduce yourself. And you're Drake. Also, I jumped the gun on this one, but this was something else that he said during this stream. And I think it just only adds to the possible mindset or the mind state that he's in at this point in time, which seems to be someone who is trying his best to make it appear that he is unbothered.
What you would listen to.
Okay,
That's
I'll
what I
play right now
want.
then.
Yeah. Rap music is weird now anyway. I want to hear what you listen to.
Rap music is weird nowadays. I want to hear what you have to say. Oh, God. Well, after that display, after the celebration of Kendrick, which it seems like he just can't take it. He can't take it. The mind, body, and soul does not seem to be at peace. This is what Drake did. Here's a summary of what happened. He had not only filed one lawsuit, but he filed two. Let's talk about the first one. Drake is suing his own record label UMG and Spotify over Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. He is suing them for launching an illegal scheme involving bots, payola, and other methods to pump up Not Like Us. Pot calling the kettle black. The court filing claims UMG used Spotify and Apple Siri to push Not Like Us over Drake's tracks. Although Apple's not involved in this lawsuit or petition to file a lawsuit. Employees perceived as loyal to Drake were allegedly fired as part of an effort to cover up UMG's actions. We're going to dice all these down. That is interesting. Because it's almost like admitting to guilt, in my opinion. It's admitting to some level of guilt in order for you to know that there are loyalists to Drake working at UMG. How would we know that? Unless you were taking advantage of I'm jumping the gun. UMG paid influencers and radio stations to boost Lamar's song without disclosure. Once again, how do you know this unless you partake in this? 4, a whistleblower revealed bots generated 30 million early streams for Not Like Us. How you know so much about How you know so much about bots? How you know so much about bots is my question. Now let's talk about bots. I don't know if you guys recall, there was a conversation who, once again, academics has been probably the most loyalist in the media to Drake and making sure that his reputation stays intact to the best of his ability. Remember he brought on a random young dude who said, I'm the guy that Kendrick's manager paid for streams, and he showed these screenshots that were obviously altered in some people's opinions, let's say allegedly, and then he went to double check the story with his relationship that he has with somebody at Spotify, and they said this. Remember this?
Now, I'll be honest with you. I talked to my man from Spotify. I won't say the name right now, but legit Spotify nigga. He said, "Hey, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know what that person on your stream was talking about. Them Kendrick streams is real. That's what."
The problem is this motion to file a lawsuit in New York also mentions specific videos, specifically one video from Jeremy Heck where he's showing him talking to Siri and saying, play Certified Lover Boy, and instead of playing Certified Lover Boy, the album by Drake, it played Not Like Us because that's a lyric inside of Not Like Us. Certified Lover Boy, Certified Lover Boy. I digress. That's part of the things being cited in this said lawsuit that he wants to push up against UMG. It is getting nasty. Let's go back to some of these other talking points. So he says that a whistleblower revealed bots generated. Well, this is something that even your man's academics said that his person at Spotify said this thing is the real deal. Maybe it's part of the reason why he's suing Spotify, because he's trying to say that they were lying in this situation.
That's what I'm saying. What I did, I called the people that I know oversee those people that play like that. And I PTR'd it on my floor. They said, Wack, we didn't work that. We didn't touch that.
That's the voice of Wack 100, and he's explaining or doubling down that, no, those weren't bots. I find it really interesting because I think many of you, especially if you said anything that was pro-Kendrick during the battle on Twitter, you remember there was a point in time where you received bots like crazy. My account got hit with bot tweets for 12 hours, and it said the most randomest things, not just about Kendrick, but about Rick Ross and Metro Boomin and anybody who had any kind of opposition to Drake at that point. These bots would go off. I thought it was really interesting that all these bots had hashtags that were not only promoting UMG, but were also promoting Taylor Swift and her new project, which is something else. That's another artist on UMG. So whether that's UMG or not, I mean, we can kind of speculate and know where that's going, but we don't have any proof, right? Could be a kid that's going crazy on the internet. With that said, though, let's continue. UMG used Spotify and Apple Siri to push Not Like Us over Drake tracks. Drake, we got the same internet as you, brother. Remember in 2018 when Spotify issued refunds to subscribers who felt like they were spammed by all the Drakeness? If you don't remember, there was a point in time in 2018 where Spotify, in partnership with Drake, plastered his face on damn near every playlist on their front page. Whether or not it's his music or not, he is in playlists here for ambient chill. Some said he was in there for rock and country. Whatever the case may be, this feels like he had a relationship that allowed him to monopolize the front page of Spotify. This is an article that is associated with Music Business Worldwide, but what's better than that? Let's see what the people had to say back then. This is a tweet from Spotify around the time the Scorpion came out. This is dated 2018, June 28th. And here they're basically showing you all of the playlists that they included Drake's face on as part of his rollout. Okay? Here's what the commentary said back in 2018. Ambient chill and bachata? Too? You better get rid of all that or I'm canceling. I pay you guys every month so as to avoid advertisements. I don't listen to Drake or anything even remotely similar, yet I'm being flooded with this new album. Come on, Spotify. What the F? My feed is being carpet bombed with this hack. Okay, he's got a new album. I don't need 37 playlists with his pick. Oh, no. Monster! Artists need to promote things, but this is ridiculous. I'm wondering if you guys were messing with my head. I pay for premium. Why are you promoting this no talent hack on my AC/DC playlist? That's a rock band. I pay for no ads. I want no ads. Doesn't happen on Google Play or Apple Music. Once again, that's in reference to UMG being also sued because he says, or his lawyers say that Spotify and Apple Siri, UMG used Spotify to push Not Like Us over Drake's track. You mean how Drake's tracks were pushed over the people in those playlists, even though they're not genres that he competes in or makes music for? You talking about that? Talking about that? Oh, big dog. Big dog. What's going on over there? What's going on over there? Well, to gain some more perspective, I always like to hear what some of the lawyers are saying. Here's a popular one, Muhammad Mo, and he's talking about pretty much laying out the details of this first lawsuit, because there's a second one that just happened today. But listen to what he has to say in this portion, because it really gives some insight about where we're at.
Drake's lawyers saw it fit for a filing in a New York state court, and they say, look, this is some evidence of the bots. Then they say that Universal typically takes a cut in order for somebody like Spotify to put a Universal song on Spotify, and that in this case, Universal wanted Not Like Us to be more popular, and so they agreed to take a lower cut, and they gave it to Spotify on the low, cheaper. They paid radio for plays that, hey, Universal Music Group, in order to make Not Like Us artificially popular, paid people in radio. Apparently, they claim that all of this is illegal and that it caused damage to Drake by reducing his popularity, getting him less streams.
Being less popular is not damaging to your, it's damaging to your ego, sir. That's crazy.
They argue that streaming is a zero-sum game. Every time Not Like Us got streamed,
but I thought he won. Oh, okay.
It resulted in Drake not getting a stream because you necessarily...
I thought he won. Okay.
...really can't get a stream if everybody's listening to something else on that day. And they have all these other wild allegations in there, including this idea that Universal is firing people who have loyalty to Drake and preferring people who have loyalty to Kendrick. They also claim...
Is that not problematic? That you are you're pointing the finger. Hey, you got rid of the people in here that really, really vouch for me. You got rid of the people that were really giving me unfair advantage in here. Where they at? You fired them? What the hell am I gonna do now? That's what it sounds like, at least.
That Universal told Drake that, hey, this is not, none of this is our problem. Your problems are with Mr. Lamar. You should sue. Kendrick Lamar's last name, by the way, is Duckworth. They say your problems are with Mr. Duckworth. You should sue Mr. Duckworth. And if you sue Mr. Duckworth, maybe we'll jump in there with you.
This shit is getting
crazy, sturdy, spooky, hilarious.
So, if you read the full article, it is made available on Billboard and a bunch of other platforms. That's where I was really reading a lot of these details. At some point, Drake's team or Drake approached UMG about having conversations about what he is now accusing them of in this motion to file a lawsuit. They pretty much told him, yeah, if you want to sue somebody, you should probably go sue Kendrick, because we don't do that here. What you mean? We don't do nothing here illegally. We don't have no kind of, there ain't no damn illegal activity. What we talking about? We just a record label. We just a record label. I think this is what my spotty senses are telling me. The same person that benefited off of a system that is already rigged saw it be used not in his favor. And he, in all of his entitlement, is feeling very, very vulnerable right now. And when you get to this place, you could, by the end of this, you'll see a picture that paints Drake wants to be away from UMG and be, quote unquote, independent. One of the problems is that he accepted a $400 million plus check that they're still recouping on. And it seems like by any means necessary, even if it means taking away whatever hip hop credibility you gave this man, he will go down spiraling. I mean, the night before he puts the lawsuit up here, or the information of the news comes out, he talks about how rap is just weird now. What was rap the last 15 years that you were dominating? It's just weird now. Interesting. Continue.
Because what I think is happening here, first off, my mind is spinning because I can't imagine that you're relying on a source that academics questioned and that. But here's what I think is happening. I think you might have a situation where Drake realizes that Not Like Us and everything around that song and this battle has forever tarnished his earning ability, and his ability to make that money. This is what I think is so significantly reduced that he's got to do everything he possibly can to get it back.
Shouldn't have been talking shit. Mustard! You shouldn't have been talking shit. Nah. Famous last words. Nah. Famous last words. Nah. Don't run away now, Kendrick. You antagonized the man. You talked about his wife. You talked about the man's kids. You talked about his business partner. You don't reserve the right, drop. You don't reserve the right to sit around here and say, look at what they're doing to me, when you yourself have been benefiting off of this said system. Remember, I told you guys earlier this year that I speculated that the reason why it felt like 20 versus 1 is because people have been seeing him unfairly maneuver, in their opinion, unfairly maneuver this industry, but they couldn't say nothing because if you go against him, you look like a hater and you might get blackballed. Now, there's finally a level of vulnerability, and then people are now standing up and saying, you know what? Yeah. I think it is interesting timing, because if you felt like this, why do this during the album rollout for GNX? That to me feels like, I know these things take time, but this to me feels like, how would you know about some of the things that people are going to line up? I got a video here from Rory. How would you know these things unless you yourself allegedly participated in them? Now, one of the things that needs to be talked about, and we'll get to it. Actually, let's hold that thought. Let me let him finish his thought right here.
Even if that means filing these claims where you're out here, I would never file a claim like this if I were him, unless I guess there was that much money on the line. Because from a PR perspective, my gosh, what do we think, people? Does this play well, or does this play poorly for the boy?
You're cooked. You're cooked, brother. You're cooked. This video was reposted. Shout out my guy, RobMarkman. RobMarkman disclosed something that I think these are the type of things that once you put yourself out there, once you start digging, because the second lawsuit deals with defamation. Once you start digging, people start revealing, and it could come from anywhere if you have not been moving righteous. And it feels like now this is starting to open up a shit ton of things that are happening. So with that said, RobMarkman disclosed something in a recent video about one of the OVO representatives allegedly approaching him to show Drake some love during the battle.
Shit get crazy, stirred.
My guy RobMarkman, let's talk about it.
I'm sure Drake could have done the same thing. I'll tell you one further, and I'm gonna be honest, and I haven't said this, and I was approached during the battle by a team connected with the OVO side and asked me to show the boys some love. You know, again, I was being as unbiased as possible. I was calling it like I see it, but they asked me, yo, we know you're unbiased. Really said it. We know you're unbiased. And we like that you're unbiased and you really try to call it straight, but can you show the guy some love? And no money was offered. No, absolutely no money.
Shit get crazy, stirred.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Continue, Rob.
Was offered. But, you know, they kind of offer some things, some information, some access, and say, yo, and we'll make it that you could play his songs in your videos. You know, we'll whitelist it. Ultimately, I declined.
So here, for those who don't know how insane that last statement was by RobMarkman, they did not offer him payment to say positive things about Drake. This is how they got past it, because that would be considered a form of payola. They said, we won't pay you because there's paperwork there that could one day come back on us if we choose to file a lawsuit. They instead said, but we will allow you to whitelist your videos, which in turn will allow him to monetize any positive content that includes the music of Drake within it. Dog, this is not real life. This is not the hip hop I fell in love with. This shit is getting
Shit get crazy, stirred, spooky, hilarious.
Continue, Rob.
Ultimately, I declined for my own personal reasons. I
Good for
just
you.
feel like my allegiance is to y'all. If I took that and swayed one way, then I just wasn't being myself. And then how could y'all trust me after that? I never thought I would talk about it, but in reading this, all I'm saying is both sides. If this is true about UMG and Not Like Us and you know, paying the podcast and we know the whitelisting is true and trying to get promotion for the record through podcasters and streamers, and if that is true, all I'm saying is, and the reason why I share that is that, hey, both sides were trying to play the game. It's just one side won, if that is true. You know what I'm saying?
And I agree with them on the last point. I think that at some point in time, it wasn't necessarily a decision of a Drake or just a Kendrick. I think at some point in time, when you're sleeping, when you're in bed with UMG, whether you like it or not, they are going to do whatever they can to make as much money as they can in this short window of time. They're going to do that. For Drake's side and for Kendrick's side, whether you want to or not, there's a lot of big money on the line. A whole lot more money than is made through the music itself. But everything else that happens as a domino effect of it, they're taking full advantage of that. So this is the game. Why are we acting? Russ exposed that earlier this year on his interview on the podcast on Andrew Schultz. He talked about it in detail about how these playlists worked and how folks are offered a different form of payola in order to get that. How these relationships are the thing that ends up being the reason why an artist gets more favor than another. We've seen this. We've seen this already. But this is insane because now one of them is suing it. He's like, hey, it's okay when I do it, but I think one of you were doing it because you're doing it a little bit too much like I was doing it. Crazy. Rory says something I thought was really interesting, and it got me down another rabbit hole that I think may explain some things. Because like I said, in this channel, we did a lot of content about the unfair payouts of a Spotify, and they're part of this lawsuit, right? Now, we're going to get into the specifics about what Spotify supposedly did and how Drake himself at some point benefited off of it. But Rory said, nothing to do with this battle. I'm here for the jokes, too. Just giving a different perspective. If UMG, in fact, charged 30% lower than its usual licensing fee to a company they already have ownership in, then all artists should be upset. Well, if you've been around here, artists have already been upset and have been proactive about going direct to consumer, but that's neither here nor there. Go ahead, Rory.
I have no dog in this fight. I like Kendrick's music. I like Drake's music. I also think both of them have used bots via UMG, whether they knew it or not.
Agreed.
What stood out to me in that paperwork was the accusation that UMG lowered their licensing rate by 30% for Not Like Us. Just a quick history lesson. How we even got to the value of what a stream is was based off Spotify and the three majors negotiating on what that value would be. What makes it even crazier.
Can I just stop for a second? I know you want to hear him cook, but it frustrates me to a level I cannot quite articulate that now people give a shit about the unfair treatment of Spotify. You only care now. I'm not saying this about Rory. I don't know what the motivation behind it is, but they only care now because Drake's involved. And the downfall of Drake is happening right before our eyes. We have been here for a long time. And people said, man, Spotify pay good money, man. What the hell are y'all talking about? We've been here. But now all of a sudden, people are big detectives about the three major labels in the oligarch system of how they have they take 70 cents of every dollar from Spotify. And what he's getting to is saying that basically, because the argument is this, why in the hell would Spotify want to participate in anything that gives an artist more streams if that means they have to pay out more to the person they're licensing the music from, which is typically the label that the artist is on? If I got to give you 70 cents of every dollar because that's my licensing fee as Spotify and this is how I'm able to exist, why would I want to boost the streams? Well, what he's saying is that there may be evidence that was renegotiated for these specific songs for Not Like Us. Well, my thing is this. It wouldn't make it the first time. If it happens with Not Like Us, it wouldn't be the first time. My thing is, well, then who else? And could the very person that is trying to file these lawsuits be somebody else that has been involved in that shit? How do you know so much about it if you've never partaken in it, allegedly? I'm going to keep hammering that over the head because I think it's odd.
Is all three majors have actual stock and ownership within Spotify. That would be illegal in any other business in the world, but it's the music industry, so anything can fly.
Jeez Louise.
To the point that I worked at a major when Spotify went public, and they emailed all of us as employees and said, you cannot buy stock because that would be insider trading. Now imagine you're an artist, and you know that the people that own your music plus the people that distribute your music, which is a whole separate tech company, are in cahoots to define what a dollar means within the music industry. And then you later find out that for one artist and one song, they devalued that dollar. You wouldn't have an issue with it?
Shit get crazy, sturdy, spooky, hilarious.
This is all we've been saying over the last year, 2 years of content. This is exactly what we've been saying. It's so interesting how it all comes full circle. Do you see all these videos up here? Do you see all these videos up here? Do you understand what it's about now? I refuse to thank a Drake who has benefited his entire career off of the unfair pie system established by a Spotify. Now, because your ego is hurt, now because you're on the receiving end of this unfair arrangement, it's a problem now. We we care now? Oh, we care now. That's cute. Shout out to Brian Z. You're always going to get some extra perspective in this. Brian Z says record labels and distributors can opt their artists into Spotify's Discovery Mode, a program that boosts song recommendations to more listeners. In return, Spotify takes a 30% commission, effectively reducing the royalty rate paid to the rights holder. So, instead of that usual what is it? Oh, sorry. An addition to that. So, because Spotify is pushing a select few artists based on their relationships with these record labels, they are able to get a 30% commission, right? Reducing the royalty rate, I believe it's coming from 70%. No, that would make the opposite of that. I'm just beside myself. Let me let him continue explaining. But basically, they're saying that this is a service that is available to those who have a good relationship with the Spotify, and now they're able to take 30% commission, and they're able to take some income with this. Now, with that said, this is something that has been available to a Drake, and he's took it full advantage of. We showed you the Scorpion album in which he took full advantage of the Discovery Mode, and even going above and beyond and being on playlists that he has no business being on the playlist of. It says, if Interscope opted Kendrick into Discovery Mode in order to help boost Not Like Us without Kendrick's knowledge, the only party who should be upset is Kendrick, since it means accepting a lower royalty, less money to the label, less money to Kendrick, more money to Spotify, because it's a service that they created, the Discovery Mode. If they asked and Kendrick agreed, this is entirely above board. If you're an artist, you should be aware of your individual royalty rate and whether or not your label partner has opted into Discovery Mode or any similar programs at any stream. Unsure? Ask them. It feels like the party is starting to die. It seems like the same Drake that said, you know what? This is a cool ass system until it's used on me, now wants to go.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Law and Order Spotify Victims Unit. This can't be real life. This can't be real life.
Crazy, sturdy, spooky.
This can't be real life. Now it's a problem. This is insanity. Now it's a problem. Dun, 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 dun. Let's talk about the second lawsuit that he filed. This one, because the question became, well, if you're going to go this direction, why are you suing for payola instead of the obvious things that were said about you that you're most pained by? The PDF file allegations and things like that, which we're going to dive into just a little bit more because I think context is always important from the song itself, since this song is the thing that pretty much caused all this uproar. A song. Drake files second action against UMG alleging defamation over Kendrick Lamar false song. Oh my God. The new filing, which claims UMG funneled payments to iHeartRadio as part of a pay-to-play scheme, sheds new light on the Blockbuster dispute. How do you know this unless you've partaken in this? Drake has launched a second bombshell legal action against Universal Music Group over Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, accusing the music giant of defamation and claiming it could have halted the release of a song, falsely accusing him of being a PDF file. A day after filing an action in New York accusing UMG of illegally boosting Lamar's track on Spotify, Drake's company leveled similar claims in Texas court. Internet, all over the U.S. And regarding radio giant iHeartRadio, this is not going to end well. Boy, oh boy. You know, I know the diddler had some wild accusations that he must attest and answer to. But a lot of people felt like the all of a sudden uproar that the media brought into that situation had something to do with, even if very small, with his wanting to sue a very powerful liquor company. If these conspiracies are even an ounce of true, what do you think happens to the company? UMG could have refused to release or distribute the song or required the offending material to be edited and or removed. Mind you, he said these things before Not Like Us came out. Don't let them rewrite history. But UMG chose to do the opposite. UMG designed, financed, and then executed a plan to turn Not Like Us into a viral mega hit with the intent of using the spectacle of harm to Drake and his business to drive consumer hysteria and, of course, massive revenues. That plan succeeded, likely beyond UMG's wildest expectations. Say, Drake, do you think that it's because of them turning this into a like the New York filing on Monday, the new petition isn't quite a lawsuit. Instead, it's a so-called pre-action filing aimed taking depositions from key figures at UMG. So they're trying to get and obtain more information so that they can launch a legitimate lawsuit. Right now, this lawsuit don't got much to stand on unless Drake himself plans on self-snitching. And I don't want to get into politics, but remember when Trump was debating Hillary Clinton? And I'm gonna just like, not verbatim, but remember he said something along the lines of, I know this people take it, they abuse this system because I myself have done it. It feels like this with Drake. He's like, I know that this is happening. They got different licensing percentages happening because I know what it's like to pay off for iHeartRadio. Allegedly. I don't know, my spotty senses are tingling. In seeking that information, Drake's lawyers say they already have enough evidence to pursue a claim for defamation. Never in my years did I think I'd see a rapper follow law. It's suing Kendrick without suing Kendrick because of what that's going to look like in the public. It still looks bad no matter what. I'm going to sue the label because of defamation in a battle rap song? What culture do you think you're a part of? What, do you understand battle rap? Do you understand any of this? Why is this so new to you? I was told that he's a hip-hop historian. I was told that he knows so much about the culture and has so much respect about it. He don't know this part? You gonna sue for defamation? Nigga, if you don't get in a booth and rap for defamation, I'm sick. That's if he gets the information that he's looking for. But that they might also task on claims of civil fraud and racketeering. This nigga's trying to get a RICO based on what they discover from the depositions. UMG and iHeartRadio did not immediately return requests for comment on the new filing. Lamar is not named as a respondent in the filing and is not legally accused of any wrongdoing. Big dog, what's the plan here? What is the plan here? Oh my gosh, going out sad. You know, I think it's really easy to get so wrapped up in the hysteria of all this going on, and it's true. He's not suing Kendrick directly, but it's some indirect shit. You're suing those you think have been responsible for the success of a song that has damaged your reputation, your popularity, your ego, and I would even assume hurt his pockets in some degree. But let's go back to that song. Because what I found really interesting is that everybody has been basically running with the assumption, and I really wonder how much this holds up in court. Everybody's been running with the assumption that he called Drake a PDF file. But when you look at the song, and I'm just going to throw this out here just as an idea to just think about, because I'm sure the lawyers are going to go even deeper into this. He mentions Drake by name here. Say, Drake, I hear you like I'm young. Hey, if he's 30 and he likes him 20, that's young too. Now, we know it's alluding to something else, but let's continue. But you have to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt in court. Here's the line that created all these issues. Certified lover boy, certified, I think the plural of PDFs is interesting. It says, Kendrick uses the word pedophile. Stems from accusations of Drake grooming and showing interest in underage girls. For example, back in 2010, there was a video circulating where a then 23-year-old Drake started kissing a 17-year-old girl at one of his concerts. After finding out her age, he kissed her again and said, "I can't go to jail yet. You 17? Why you look like that? You thick. Look at all this. I don't know if I should feel guilty or not, but I had fun. I like the way your breasts feel against my chest. Creepy? Yes. Unfortunately, when you look at the laws, especially at that time in Colorado, because I saw somebody do a video breakdown of this, it's not illegal in Colorado. I believe their age, right, for consent is 17. So it's still creepy as all hell. We can agree to that. But it's not illegal. So if this is the evidence that people are hanging on, hold on. There's more. Let's go a little further. Here, and this is an annotation from Genius. If somebody's breaking this down, I think they make a good point. Here, however, Kendrick is also seemingly referring to members of Drake's entourage as offenders. For example, Travis, known as Baka Not Nice, was a former security guard who signed with Drake's record label OVO Sound in 2017. In 2014, Baka was arrested and charged with assault and human trafficking. Doesn't that bring a little bit more attention to the S on the certified in the house? Plural. Let's continue, because I'm going to walk you down a theory after this. Kendrick previously claimed Drake's entourage was filled with ex-offenders. On May 2024, Meet the Grams. The cover art for Not Like Us features an image of Drake's mansion edited in a way that closely mimics the modern epipender registry, pinpointing the residency of a convicted offender. Notably, there are 13 of them represented as pins inside Drake's mansion, again suggesting that Drake's whole clique are offenders. I want you to think about that for a second. Could that line be more so about Certified Lover Boy? It's a reference to Drake in his album, or Certified in a House, but plural. I look at this and I'm just like, did he call him one? Now, he also called him freaky ass niggas and a 6'9" guy. Hey man, what's wrong with that, man? It's not me, but what's wrong with that? I think you gotta dig for more for defamation. And defamation, I have talked to lawyers about defamation cases, and they are some of the most challenging to prove. If you're taking this song, you're gonna have a long day in court. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let's continue. Here's some input that happened before this last case that I think is still relevant to what's going on here. This lawsuit isn't about music. This is from a Twitter account user, We All Are Water. Makes a great point. He says this lawsuit isn't about music from Drake. It's about legacy, or rather the lack of one. It's a public confession that Drake fears the future because it no longer has his name written on it. Something I didn't include in the last thing that I said is, what if this is the part where where Kendrick said, the embassy about to be raided, it's only a matter of time.
Say Jim crazy, stirred, spooky, hilarious.
Because if it's uncovered that the accusation in the song, if we want to take that at face value and look for the truth in it, we have to point to the actual artwork that has all those different dots on the house. And now you have to start to question more than just Drake's actions, but what he might have known about some of the people around him, allegedly. This would then in turn cause the embassy to get raided. I don't think they want to play this game unless they know without a shadow of a doubt that it's squeaky clean. And the irony, he's not even wrong. Not Like Us is exactly that, a line drawn in the sand. On one side, artists who push boundaries and dare you to follow them into uncharted territories. On the other, the Toronto hedonist who repeat himself until the carefully constructed synergy of Toronto, patois, and UK accent fades into irrelevance. The beginning of the end of Drake's career didn't start at Like That, or Not Like Us. It didn't start at 100 gigs flopping or the release of GNX. It started today when he filed this.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Now you got bigger beef than just K-Dot. You got beef now with the company that has more on the line, more money, they money longer than you could even think of, and interests that would strike fear in most human beings. This might have been a situation where you got to take that L and do the hard work to repair your brand because you chose to take on a competition that you were not equipped for. Now you are going to write your own demise, in my opinion, pursuing this. Because now this opens the book and puts interest in places that people were willing to let go and just say, oh, that's just Kendrick doing that rap battle shit. Now you're allowing UMG, who has some of the best fucking lawyers on earth. You're giving them the opportunity now to use their lawyers to dig into the alleged authenticity of some of these things that are being said. What are you doing? Unless this is your way of saying, I can't take it no more. I'm out of here. What's up, Moni? What are we doing? Because all that's going to do is just shake the hornet's nest, and all of a sudden, people are going to pop up and say, I have indisputable evidence, but I felt in fear of my safety until now. How do we know that? Because someone like Diddy had all them years. And then all of a sudden, everybody came out the woodwork. Are they sure they want to play this game? It's a dangerous game. And I know we've been making fun of shit. It's a dangerous game. I don't look at this and say to myself, oh man, that's so brave of him, man. He's Talcum X. No, you're not. No, not in the slightest bit. Your ego is making you make some unwise decisions you and your lawyers are involved in. To wrap this up, I want to get some perspective. Shout out to my guy here, James Francis. He kind of walks us down this and he gives a perspective on how he feels about some of these things that are coming out here. Listen to his perspective. I thought this was hilarious. I saw this morning.
Somebody please tell me why Drake just filed a RICO for Not Like Us. God. Drake just sued his own label and Spotify for payola and an artificial inflation of streams. I didn't believe it, so I went to go and find the original document and laughed for at least an hour. This is the same person who said a cease and desist is for hoes. So then what's this then?
A cease and desist is for hoes. Can't listen to lies that come out of your mouth. That's crazy.
This makes J. Cole dropping out seem like God's gift to hip-hop. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is just idiotic for so many reasons. One of Jeremy Hecht was talking about how the footnote in the original document is for Jeremy Hecht's video on Not Like Us. One of the things that's in Drake's petition is him saying that, like, when you go like Siri, play Certified Lover Boy, it plays Not Like Us. Spotify and UMG had a part in manipulating. Bro, if you do that for any song, it does that, because Siri's search engine function, unless you specify the artist, will always search by lyrics. The words Certified Lover Boy are not on that album, so of course it's going to play Not Like Us.
Mustard! That had nothing to do with nothing, but I'm the frustration that is building within me right now. This is ridiculous.
Because those words are on that song. This is just common sense. Jeremy even demonstrated this in his video.
Siri, can you play Drop on Spotify?
Maybe in this song, you shouldn't start by saying...
So it went to Family Matters. You'd think that they would include that part in the paperwork, but...
Like, oh my god. This is just idiotic. The worst part of this is Drake signed the petition yesterday. When he was on stream with XQC, he started the stream with, oh, I've still got my mind, body, and soul intact. It's gonna take more than fairy tales to take me out. Bro really meant he's gonna call his label and be a Karen. Then he proceeded...
Not call his label and be a Karen. What happened to all that and I'm glad they calmed that energy down. There's a part of me that's kind of glad that this is the other route. Even though how embarrassing this is, I'm glad they calmed that other shit down. What happened not even 4 weeks ago? When it seemed like Top 5 was on a crash dummy mission. When it seemed like he was ready to go to basketball games and say crazy shit to Russell Westbrook from the front row. When Drake was out there with the barrettes, looking down, staring down DeMar DeRozan. What happened to all that energy? Remember, we taking down names, we doing homework, we seeing whoever was in the video. I'm glad that they changed the direction of that energy. But I did not expect that the next move after that would be, well, then I'll just sue you. Fucking sue you. What do you think about that? Better lawyer up, buddy. Crazy!
Needed to call Steve Lacy a fragile op, knowing that you signed a RICO for Not Like Us. Have you lost your mind?
He called, yeah, if you missed that during that same stream we shared in the beginning of this, he called Steve Lacy a fragile op because the gentleman showed up for the pop-out show and he called him his fragile op as he was signing for all this shit to go through. You better lawyer up, buddy.
What level of delusion do you have to be? And then telling XQC to turn off the weekend and play some Blink 182 because that's not what real sixes do. What does that mean?
This is the January 6th king. The January 6th guy. I can't take credit for that, but somebody said that and I've just been repeating it. It's a January 6th guy. You know what I'm saying? He had to take over. He's taking over the industry.
The other part of this that's hilarious is Drake sued for payola. Do you know what that means? That means UMG and Spotify conspired to boost streams. First of all, Drake has benefited from payola in the past. Speaking of CLB, does everybody remember the rollout of CLB at the...
I'm gonna stop it there because we talked about those points. But yeah, go check out my guy James Francis. Insanity. Man, shout out professorskye. If you've never been exposed to professorskye, some of the most brilliant content that is out here. I love his breakdowns of pretty much, it don't matter what it is. I feel like I'm gonna learn something. But for those who are like, all right, bro, I don't speak legal jargon. Explain this to me in basketball terms. Hey, leave it to professorskye to give you this brilliant analogy.
With how much I've covered the Kendrick and Drake beef, a lot of people have been asking me, Skye, are you going to cover this new lawsuit? And of course I am. And I want to go one step further. I'm going to say I think it's a great thing. It's totally in the spirit of this competition. I'm of course talking about Karl Malone's lawsuit against the National Basketball Association and the estate of Hugh Evans, rest in peace. If you don't know the backstory, in 1997, the Chicago Bulls convincingly defeated the Utah Jazz in the NBA Finals. And Karl Malone was on that team. And he and his legal experts have found 2 instances of Michael Jordan traveling and referee Hugh Evans not properly calling him on the infraction. And I think this is a great thing. This is the way that basketball should be played. We should be going to the courts and litigating what has already happened. And I think in our minds, we will always remember the true champions of the 1997 NBA season were the Utah Jazz. Congratulations. If you can't do it on the court, do it in the courts.
Crazy, stirred, spooky, hilarious.
Now, obviously, that was an imaginary scenario, but do you understand it now? He's saying, for those of you that were around for 1996, 1997 season, and the Chicago Bulls convincingly beat the Utah Jazz in 6 games. He's saying, imagine if Karl Malone, which is a very interesting analogy when you start to dig into some of the accusations against him. Crazy. That's not by chance. My man got bars. But he's saying a former player who played for the losing team in this scenario would be somebody that said, you know what? Years and years later, even though they got their rings, even though they had their parade, even though we know them as one of the greatest teams of all time, I think it's time to sue. Yeah. I know 2 instances where Jordan traveled. I got the video right here. They got it. Look. That could have changed everything. And it's such a beautiful example. And it also reminds me of, I'm about to pass on his body. I'm John Stockton. I'm about to pass on his body. John Stockton was also a teammate of that same team with Karl Malone.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Yikes. I'm not going to tell you what else Karl Malone known for. Oh my gosh. What is the plan here? Aubrey, you couldn't take your ball home and get to the gym. I think this leads to the theory that we talked about of UMG being part of the reason why he has not disappeared and gone into the caves and thought about a strategic plan in order to come back. This definitely adds to it. I feel like a part of him may want to disappear, but you can't say that out loud. You sound crazy saying that out loud. I think a part of him wants to disappear, but I think that they are saying, no. They're saying, nah. Can't back out now. You owe us money, big boy. We need some of that money we didn't gave you. So you're going to show face. You're going to continue to do these records. You're going to continue to do these collaborations. You're going to continue to do these antics and whatever keeps your name in the news, because we'll follow it up with ads, allegedly, of things that we're selling that has your name on them. That's their investment, which now all of a sudden people want to try to paint this as him doing something for independence. No. This is being done for his own ego. I saw somebody even make a comparison to what happened with Michael Jackson, and after he experienced the power that is this industry and the higher ups, after he had the deal with Sony and ATV, and he owned so many people's catalogs of music, and how all of a sudden the accusations came after all these things, and how that damaged his reputation for the remainder of his life. I think there are people who it's ironic that he's compared himself to Michael Jackson. I think there are people who feel like, probably in his circle and him himself, who feel like that same fate could be on his shoulders. If that's so, this is not making it any better. To me, this seems like someone who is on a real crash out mission, because you don't win this. Even if you win it in court, you will never be in the favor of anybody that is in fear of doing business with UMG, or in fear of not doing business with UMG, or abiding by what they say. One thing I can tell you about the music industry is that it is the easiest for those in power to blackball someone. It's the easiest thing in the world. No matter what noise you think you have, they have powers that be, let's say allegedly bots and systems that can make it seem like it's the opposite. I think he pissed somebody off. I think that he thought that he had privilege that he doesn't quite possess, and now he's starting to see the reality of it, and that there exists an alternate universe in which he is the butt of the joke. But to try to make this seem like this lawsuit is for future independence, this ain't got nothing to do with shit except a fragile ego that has been damaged. And no matter what he does, no matter what happens after this, what has been done is done. DIYers, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.